Hello Namibia, and welcome to your daily lunchtime show where we get to catch up on current events and headlines that are in the news. My name is Priska Anyolo, and thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Friday edition. Let's get the show on the road. This and more coming up as we give you an overview on all of the news making headlines in the country, including the front and inside pages of all the national newspapers. But for now, let's head on over to our COVID-19 monitor for today. By Tuesday, Namibia were reporting an average of 133 new cases per day, the lowest daily average in 4 months. Out of the country's more than 125,000 total cases, 5,764 were reported in August. This figure is less than the 6,910 cases reported in May and a fraction of the 37,000 and 26,000 cases reported in June and July. In August, 240 cases were confirmed among health workers compared to more than 1,500 during the previous 2 months. A total of 330 fatalities were announced in August, almost 5 times less than the close to 1,500 deaths reported in July and more than half of the over 700 deaths announced in June. The curve is thus continuing to flatten, and 26 of Namibia's 35 health districts are reporting fewer cases than a week ago. The recovery rate improved to around 96%. Due to an outbreak at a school in the Omaheke region, the Gobabis district is currently reporting the highest daily average, up from 12 to 29 cases per day. This represents more than 20% of the national daily average, and many new cases countrywide are from schools. Windhoek's average decreased from 16 to 11 cases per day, while the average for Shakati increased from 10 to 11. Inanna's average dropped from 17 to 10, and less cases are being reported in both the Ohangwena and Omusati regions. At Utapi, new cases decreased from an average of 17 per day to 8, and in the district of Tsandi from 10 to 5. Ngela is reporting an average of 6 cases per day. The averages for Grootfontein and Walvis Bay stands at 5. Averages for Oshikuku, Swakopmund, Keetmanshoop and Luderitz all decreased to less than 5 per day. Of the close to 215,000 people who have been vaccinated in Namibia, 55% have already received a second dose of vaccine.
You and I think we like each other, you and I getting high. Never mind each other, but you and I couldn't fly forever. You and I think we like each other. You and I getting high together. You and I never mind each other, but you and I couldn't fly forever. Day one, knew you since day one. Used to pick me up in your Honda. Yeah, ride around town just to burn some. With the motive on, earn fun talking. We would talk, and the sun was set as we sparked a split. These dreams don't last, so let's get this cash. Big bet, big wins, big stacks, yeah. Let it stack to the ceiling, get broke. Ain't no way we could ever lose.
And now we jump into our video news segment. And for the first story for today, a drive-through memorial organized by Namibia National Teachers Union took place in Ocharongo this week in remembrance of teachers in the country who have succumbed to COVID-19. Nantu Ocharongo Branch Deputy Chairperson Ignatius Kavishene addressed bereaved relatives and colleagues at the short memorial. Esther Kamati was there.
A drive-through memorial took place this week in Ocharongo, organized by the Namibian National Teachers Union. The aim of the drive-through was to remember the teachers who had lost their lives in the battle against COVID-19 this year. The Otjozondjupa region has lost up to 13 members in the teaching fraternity, which comprises of principals, institutional workers, a secretary, as well as teachers. The convoy passed various schools in the town which were affected by the COVID-19 deaths, which include Karundu Primary School, which has lost 4 staff members. They also drove past Vooruit Primary School and Rokate Primary School.
That season comes and goes. The winter will subside and give way to the summer. Surely, as the night gives way to day, so shall our sorrow give way to joy. We will not forget, but we will cherish and celebrate the memories of our fallen compatriots and what they stood for, the educating of the Namibian child, the rearing and the guidance of these young minds to fertile grounds of self-actualization. Indeed, a noble profession, indeed a noble calling that call upon one to give of yourself beyond the parameters of duty.
In Swakopmund, the Ilolo Permaculture Initiative, in collaboration with Tosco, donated 177 trees to the Urban Agriculture Initiative, which includes school gardens. Westside High School in Swakopmund was the first school garden to receive some of the donated trees, which include fruit trees as well as other species. Irene van der Valt was there.
Culture is a small Namibian NGO, and we are active in food security and also sustainability projects, and hence we have partnered up with an organization called Tosco, which is a sustainability trust for the tourism industry. So they work with a membership of Namibian tour operators and also individual companies that are part of the tourism industry, and they support projects like ourselves, and we have partnered up, and this project is called Clean Travel. It just means that we are planting trees on behalf of tourists.
The idea is for plants. These roots should just stay in the ground, and we're going to come a little bit higher up, so we need to shift the soil in.
I can also get my ability, no problem.
And now we move on to the front pages of our national daily newspapers. Firstly, the Namibian Sun leads with the Prosecutor General's move to confiscate nearly $2 million Namibian worth of pension payouts to former Fisheries Minister Bernard Esau and his wife, as well as the couple's attempts to have this constraint order overturned. The former minister, sorry about that, we're facing a few technical difficulties. We'll be right back after this ad break. We do apologize for that, Namibia. We faced a few technical difficulties, but the glitches are all fixed and we're ready to continue the show. As I was saying on the front pages of our national daily newspapers. Firstly, the Namibian Sun leads with the Prosecutor General's move to confiscate nearly $2 million Namibian worth of pension payouts to former Fisheries Minister Bernard Esau and his wife, as well as the couple's attempts to have this constraint order overturned. The former minister had instructed his lawyers to use some of his pension payout as legal fees for himself and his co-accused in the fish rod corruption case. Allgemeine Zeitung reports that criticism of the genocide agreement between Germany and Namibia is now coming from all sides. The German Society for Threatened Peoples is also demanding direct reparation payments to the descendants. The genocide agreement provides for development funds to be given to the Namibians over a period of 30 years state, but no direct payments to the victims' descendants. Republican leads with the Namibian Forensic Science Institute's statement that they need at least 30 to 36 million Namibian dollars per year in order to clear a backlog of 4,300 DNA samples. During a media gathering at the laboratory yesterday, Police Chief Sebastian Ditunga said to analyze one sample cost an estimated 9,800 Namibian dollars. A prosecutor told the newspaper that although forensic sample results are not the only aspect related to criminal investigations, the current backlog does lead to some cases becoming cold. Republican's other front page photo also reflects the scene near Oshorongo, where runaway veld fires have devastated 9 farms so far. The lead story of the Namibian delves into controversy around the politically connected partners that the Namibian Petroleum Corporation of Namibia, Namcor, has selected for its projects to build 33 new service stations across the country over the next 2 years. The company admits it has advertised for 2 service stations, while it was approached by its other partners. Namcor has so far entered into partnerships with more than 10 companies. Today's New Era reports on the Executive Director of the Ministry of Information, Bewata Uwandarakana, announcing his resignation from SWAPO Party in protest of the government's handling of the genocide reparations negotiations. At a press conference, Uwandarakana said he had joined the governing party in 1982 at the age of 19, and that he has been a SWAPO member for 39 years. He believes the recently concluded deal of funding for 18 billion Namibian dollars for Namibian projects over 30 years has nothing to do with the reparation and restorative justice for the 65,000 Herero and 10,000 Nama people killed by German soldiers from 1904 to 1908. And now we hop right into the inside pages of our national daily newspapers and see of some of our selected highlights. The Namibian quotes police statistics that Namibia has in the last 3 years reported a total of 453 cases of attempted murder with firearms and 380 cases of stolen firearms being reported. The newspaper then spoke to police spokespersons as well as gun shop owners regarding some of the procedures that members of the public should be aware of in case they are considering buying a firearm to protect themselves. Allgemeine Zeitung quoted forecasters' predictions that the upcoming rainy season looks promising for large parts of Namibia, as normal to above average rainfall is expected throughout the country from November. Only in the western part of the country can below average rainfall occur from the beginning of 2022. Most of the SADC region can expect normal to above average rainfall during the upcoming rainy season. New Era confirms that Namibia has received a batch of 15,000 Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines from the Serbian government. The donated vaccinations are for the first dose, while the second dose will arrive within 20 days, the health minister announced yesterday. Sputnik V is the world's first registered COVID-19 vaccine and has approval in 69 countries, including Russia, South Korea, Argentina, and the UAE. Namibian Sun previews the highly anticipated World Athletics Diamond League meeting in Brussels later tonight, where Namibian sprinters Christine Boma and Beatrice Masilingi will line up in the 200 meters against Sha'Carri Richardson of the USA, Sharika Jackson of Jamaica, and Dina Asher-Smith of the UK. The live broadcast on SuperSport starts at 8 p.m., with the women's 200 meters expected about 1 hour later. And finally, the Namibian Sports Commission yesterday announced that the annual Sports Award will be held in Windhoek on October 30th. Any sport achievements from 2020 and 2021 will be in contentions after the National Sports Awards were not held last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Republican also reports on yesterday's final day of competition for the Namibian athletes at the Paralympic Games in Tokyo, where Johannes Dambala took a bronze in the 400 and Ananias Shikongo suffered an unfortunate disqualification that robbed him from another bronze medal. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of today's show. Thank you so much for bearing and supporting with us today, and we wish you a lovely weekend ahead.